Hello, everyone. This is the Brick City Brown Chick coming at you with the Brick City Brown Chick show for this week. And our topic is surviving the trials and tribulations of being a Black woman. This is different than our topic last week, where we were talking about how to love a Black woman. This week, we're talking about the difficulties that come along with showing up in your life every day as a Black woman. Now, the genesis of this conversation came from two incidents that happened last week that really had absolutely nothing to do with each other, but have everything to do with this topic. So the first incident was about a TikTok creator named Gloria. Now, if you're not a makeup girly or you're not in the makeup space, you may never have heard her name before. She does makeup reviews. Brands send her makeup and she reviews whether the makeup works for her or not. It's a simple enough concept, but Gloria is of South Sudanese descent. She is extremely, extremely dark skinned. So, a lot of what her reviews talk about is whether brands are making cosmetics for women of a richer, deeper skin tone. And so last week, she announced that she's taking a break from TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all those things, because her mental health has worn down from dealing with trolls and racists and nasty people who leave her the most obnoxious comments. And when I first heard her say she was, taking a break, I understood it immediately because people like to, well, let me rephrase that. Racist people like to put Black women in a box. And the box is a no-win situation. Some of the comments she receives are like, well, there are Black brands that make things for you. Why don't you just use them and stop taking up space on the internet talking about this? Or aren't you people ever happy? There are colors for you. And it really frustrates me and frankly makes me really angry that white people, the people for whom everything has been designed from the beginning of people tracking this sort of thing, are angry that women of color want the same rights and privileges that they have, even if you think makeup shades are ridiculous or that this is a nonsensical conversation. It really is part of a bigger picture. It is part of why the previous president wants to refer to the current vice president as stupid and unintelligent, even though she has tons more experience than he does. She has more degrees than he has. She spent more time in government than any previous president. And yes, you can Google that and look it up because it's fact. It's why he wants to call her names and try to convince people that she cannot handle the job of being president. The second incident that happened last week that made me think, yeah, I really need to talk about this subject was in reference to two guys named Fuhad and James, who are Black men from the UK, who run a channel called Shits and Gigs. And essentially, Shits and Gigs is they read Reddit stories or they ask people for comments about a particular topic. And a lot of the things they talk about are about relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, married people, all that sort of thing. And it's about their banter and their interactions. And I found them funny, and I say found on purpose because then last week happened. They were on a tour of the United States, going out and meeting their fans. And they were in Atlanta on a podcast of a creator I will not name because he's a racist jerk. So I won't get into that. But they were just being ridiculous. The podcaster said some really racist things, and they just sort of hooped and hollered and laughed it up. And all I thought when I saw the video of the two of them was Black people from the 1920s and 30s who used to just have to laugh when white people insulted them and made fun of them. It was just sad and disheartening. A lot of the commentary from the podcaster was around Black women. He asked them if they had dated Black girls or white girls and asked them if they had a preference. And they just sort of uncomfortably looked at each other and then said no. And then he said, "Oh, I know what that means. It means your preference is white women because Black women are a pain in the ass," or whatever he said. And so a lot of the audience for Shits and Gigs are women. It's the kind of thing that women listen to because men want to listen to podcasts about sports or whatever other thing they want to talk to or talk about. Whereas women want to laugh most of the time or just have something that gets them away from the everyday life. It's like we've got our political podcasts. Who have children are into their mommy podcasts and their mommy blogs. But sometimes you just want something that doesn't require any thought, something you can get a laugh at and move on with your day. And that's what Shits and Gigs was for a lot of women. But since this has come out, I have heard a lot of women who were loyal listeners, both women of color and white women, talk about how disgusted and disappointed they were slash are in James and Fuhad and how they will not listen to Shits and Gigs again because it's clear to them that they don't defend Black women, even though they're Black. And, well, I think James is half Black and half Irish. But it's like, okay, somebody in your parental set is Black. And the fact that you sit here and shuck and jive with a clear racist. This podcaster has had issues in the past. It's not like this is a singular incident. The fact that you want to laugh and giggle and shuck and jive at the nasty things he says about Black women and not either A, get up and leave, because that would have been the easiest thing to do. One of you taps the other one and says, "Okay, we're out. We're not doing this. We're not going to be made a fool of in our community." Or number two, you don't say, "Hey, dude, that's over the line. That's not okay." Was just disheartening is what I'll say, and disgusting, frankly, to watch. Now, of course, they have since come out and given the standard mea culpa, and people don't understand how hard it is when you're on a show. And basically, they're saying that they froze, that they just, like, they knew it was bad, but they felt, the fight or flight syndrome. They just felt like they couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And I just think that's crap. If you're an adult and you've lived a certain amount of time, you know what's okay to say and what's not okay. You know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And the fact that you would not defend women that you came from or are related to was just gross. So, like many women, I am done with them too. But those two incidents really made me stop and go, some days it's just really hard to even get out of bed and go out and deal with the world. People talk about something called microaggressions. And I've said that to people, and a lot of people either stare at me blankly because they don't know what I'm talking about, or they just roll their eyes like, oh God, this again. This is what we're talking about? Yeah, this is what we're talking about. Microaggressions are the everyday nonsense that you, as a woman, or as a black woman specifically, have to deal with. I'll use an example from my own life that happened just last week. Tuesday night, we go grocery shopping. That's the weekly drill. We're standing in line of probably 6 people in front of us because they were sort of going between shifts. They had 2 aisles open, unless you could go to the 20 items or less line, but we didn't. So we're just standing there waiting. Finally, after about 15 minutes, the manager comes out, gets another lane open, and, asks people if they want to come into the new lane. So we are in the process of going to the newly opened lane when a Karen, and yes, I will call her a Karen, decided to jump in front of us. And then she looked at the checkout woman and said, I've been waiting in this line for 15 minutes. I have things to do. And all I could think was, like the rest of us don't, Karen, pipe down. We're all standing in the same line here. It's not like we're twiddling our thumbs and going, oh, I like standing in the grocery line for 45 minutes. It was just so rude and so nasty. And I really did have to hold it in and not call her everything but a child of God because it was just so obnoxious. But when she jumped in front of us, she looked back at me. And what I wanted to say was, what the bleep are you looking at? But I just had to hold it in and go, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And wait an extra 10 minutes. We'll get checked out and then this will be done. But those kind of things go on every day. When somebody cuts me off in traffic, I really do have to go, did they cut me off because I'm black and they feel like I don't deserve to be on the road? Or did they cut me off just because they're a jerk and don't know how to drive? It's things like that when people give you the side eye when you walk into somewhere and there's a room full of other people and you're like, okay, are you giving me the side eye because you give everybody the side eye? Or are you giving me the side eye because you're thinking, oh, you're a black person. Are you sure you can afford whatever it is you're coming in here to have done? It's just constant. It is 24/7, 365, non-stop. And so when I hear someone starting a lecture about, black women need to be softer, kinder, nicer, fill in the blank, I say right back to them, the world needs to be kinder, softer, nicer. And then black women will follow suit. But until that day, yes, we are going to defend ourselves. Yes, we are going to protect our mental health. Yes, we are going to call out people who do not stand up for us, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whoever. If you do not stand with us, then you stand against us. And if you stand against us, we're going to walk away and have nothing to do with you. American history is not kind to the way Black women have been treated. One of the most important things I think about is the suffragette movement, the movement to get women the right to vote. Black women wanted to participate in that process, but white women said, no, this is about us and not about you. And those are the kind of things that just frustrate Black women, including me, to no end. America, as it does in many cases, when it comes to Black women, wants to have its cake and eat it too. They want to tell us that we're less than. They want to tell us that, oh, we got where we are because of affirmative action or some other program, and that we're not as smart as they are, and that we don't deserve as much as they have. But then on the other hand, Kamala Harris announced her candidacy. Who were the first group of women, first group of people out there in support of her? Black women. When Joe Biden won the presidency in 2020, a lot of people said, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party owe this victory to Black women because Black women get out there, we get the word out, we get organized, we explain to people what they need to do. And it's very frustrating when we are always having to defend ourselves, having to defend our very existence day after day after day after day. It's exhausting. It really, truly is. In terms of Gloria, I certainly hope she gets the rest she needs and the time away she needs. But I really do hope she comes back to TikTok and to social media because her voice is desperately, desperately needed. I had someone I was telling about this last week ask me why this is something I cared about because I am not a dark-skinned Black woman. Why and how does this affect me? Because I am a Black woman, and whatever affects my sisters and my sisterhood affects me. I have never had any trouble finding shades of makeup that work for me. My mother is significantly darker than I am. She's probably close to Gloria's complexion. I remember very clearly as a little girl when my mother was getting ready to go out and making up her face, she would have 2 foundations, 3 foundations, and she'd have to mix them together to get the shade right. And I thought that was something all women did. It wasn't until I was well into my teens that I understood, no, that was something that exclusively dark-skinned Black women had to do. And it just really, really bothered me. And so the situation with Gloria has also deeply bothered me that people are just so nasty and so insensitive to this woman who is not doing anything but reviewing makeup that she's been asked to review and giving her thoughts. And people send her hate. It's just gross and disgusting. And whenever somebody wants to tell me that America is post-racial or that we're no longer sexist or whatever nonsense they want to spew at me, I just look at them like they're out of their mind because I know better. People have asked me, is this something that white women can ever understand? And the honest answer to that is no. You can be an ally to Black women. You can say, hey, I don't know what you're going through, but I support you. I think this is nonsense. I want to use my voice and my platform to support you, but it's not something you will ever understand, because unless you actually have to go through it and live with it and be it and deal with people's racism and sexism and stupidity and just general nastiness, it's something you will never, ever understand. My best advice for people who want to ally with Black women is talk to the Black women you know. Ask them the things that have affected them, things that happened to them in their childhood, and things that continue to happen to them. It will really help you open your eyes and see the world around you in a way you would not see it if you didn't know these women and if you didn't talk to these women. So that is what I wanted to talk about for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. New episodes drop every Thursday on YouTube. The tag is youtube.com/Brick City Brown Chick. If you can't find it, you can just type Brick City Brown Chick into your YouTube page and you'll see my avatar. It's me with glasses and a huge afro. You can't miss me. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in this week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.